Alright y'all, got the transmission back out of the car, waiting for my clutch parts to show up, and in the meantime I started building a temporary custom exhaust. I want to get a kit to build a nice set of headers for it, but I'm on kind of a time crunch, so I threw these together for right now. This is the driver's side done. I gotta cut up this old rotten header here and make a passenger side, which should be a little bit easier. But I'll keep you updated as I go. Yeah, that's what it looks like when your dumbass drills a hole in the wrong spot. I won't tell no one if you don't tell no one. Alright y'all, let me give you some life advice here. For anybody that's just getting into the hobby or doesn't really know where to start or is kind of intimidated with building shit and trying to make cool shit on their own, don't let anybody tell you that you ain't got the skill or you don't have the money or you don't have what it takes to build cool shit. Because I'm out here cobbling shit together with what I got laying around. And I can tell you for certain that a ratty old car going down the road that you built yourself is way more fun than any expensive project sitting on jack stands in the garage. If you want to have cool shit, go out in the garage or go to Harbor Freight, buy yourself some cheap tools, a cheap welder, pick up a cheap piece of shit car on Facebook Marketplace or from Scrapyard or whatever, and just start building shit. Throw together what you got with what you can, or what you can with what you got, and just have fun with it. Don't let anybody else kill your mood because they're just jealous that your shit runs and theirs is still sitting in the garage and they got all kinds of money tied up in it. It's just a little bit of advice from a redneck with a welder out here trying to make some shit happen. Do what you will with that information. Alright, there we go. Temporary headers are done. Not necessarily proud of them, but the exhaust will exit the vehicle. That's all they were meant to do. This winter I'll probably make a nice set of firewall hugger headers. Some nice gasser style, something or another with a kit. But until then, just at least get the car on the road. Hopefully parts show up tomorrow and we can get the clutch put in, transmission put back in, drive shaft, get everything hooked together. I gotta get pedals for it. I can put the pedals in, make the master cylinder work, then its cooling system and fuel, and it should run under its own power. Stay tuned. Alright guys, a little bit of progress today. Got the master cylinder mounted, and how I figured that out was I put the master cylinder in a vise and pushed the rod in from all the way out to all the way in and measured the stroke. And then I come in here and clutch pedal in here. And I took a tape measure. Oh, flashlight, shadows. Crappy cameraman. So I took a tape measure off the firewall then and found where, for height-wise on the clutch pedal, I got that stroke. I needed 1.5 inches of stroke. So right there is all the way up where the spring will hold it. And it was 2.5 inches down from the pivot point is where I got just over 1.5 inches of stroke to the firewall. So I can put a stop on it so it won't go all the way to the floor. And then when I had my height figured out, I went on the outside, or I figured out where it was from the inside and then went and drilled the hole from the outside where my height wanted to be and where about I wanted to have it left and right, where it cleared all the brake stuff. And then what I did then was I put a Sharpie through the end of that, pulled this all the way up, so where that it's at full rest, and this is all the way up. I put a Sharpie through that, marked a hole, and then drilled. It was this hole here. This one down here was for the old clutch return spring, which is way heavier than we need anymore. So I drilled that hole there, and now I got this bolt that I cut off at the length I needed to get over to the clutch rod, and that'll go in there. It'll stick through something like that. And I can weld all that up, and I can weld it on this side, and then I'll be able to put a lock nut, or I don't even need a lock nut. I can put a nut, then a washer, and then that plastic rod will go on there with this little bushing piece that goes in there. And then I'll be able to put another washer and then a lock nut on it just to make sure it can't come off. This should keep it on there. It's got some little like grooves in there that should kind of bite into that, but I'd rather have a lock nut on there just so I know that it's not going anywhere. So I'll get that welded up and I'll get it all put together in here and show you how it works. Alright, there we have it. Pedals are in, finished product. I didn't use any washers on here because I didn't quite have enough room for that to get the lock nut to lock. But I think it'll be fine without them. Yeah, it works. At least this part of it anyway. I'm still waiting on my clutch and flywheel and slave cylinder to get the transmission in. Then once that's in, we can bleed the clutch out, make sure that all works properly. And we're getting closer. Alright, it's starting to look like a car again. Got the front put back together again, got a radiator in it. I think this radiator has a pinhole leak in it. It's probably going to be temporary. I think I'm going to get an aluminum one for it. Gonna have to get a electric fan to push from the front because clearances are tight back here. Hopefully in the next day or so my clutch stuff shows up and that can go in. Also, oh, where'd I put it? Fingers crossed this works out. But with the transmission in, I measured up what I needed. I did a little bit of searching and cross-referencing, and come to find out, the drive shaft from a 90 or 84 Ranger regular cab, long bed, manual tool drive was the exact length I needed. Had the right flange on this end already for the slip yoke. All I had to do was get a bastard joint to go from 1310 to 1330 U-joint to put the flange for the 8/8 on the end of it. I did a bunch of measuring and it should work, but I guess we won't know until everything's bolted together. But fingers crossed, if I don't have to make a drive shaft, that would be awesome. And I've got some gauges in there. Them are half-ass hooked up. Getting close. Once the transmission's in for good, then it's just wiring and fuel and a few other little odds and ends. Then it should be mobile, and then we can put some brakes on it and we should be able to take it for a test drive. Keep it posted. Alright y'all, we finally got parts. There it all is, the last big piece of the puzzle. Let's get it in the car. Well, I ran into my first little hurdle. Fords have this spacer plate here that goes between the bell housing on the block and the transmission. And I kind of spaced out about it, didn't really think of it being different between an auto to a manual. But on the flywheel, it hits these little dimples they got in here. I suppose they press them in for rigidity. So, you know, I did the right thing and just cut them off. I'm sure it'll be fine. I could get a manual plate, but should have just bought a Chevy. So since I already put the radiator in, I can't get a ratchet and a socket on the harmonic balancer bolt to hold it in place while I torque it. So this is what I come up with. I got a bell housing bolt in there with a pry bar wedged into the starter teeth and wedged up into my exhaust and the fender over there. So now I should be able to come on, click there. All right, I'll do the rest and we can get the pressure plate and clutch up in here. Remember folks, when you buy this stuff brand new, the flywheel and the pressure plate, they store them with some oil on it in the packaging, so you want to make sure you brake clean some of that off. Uh-oh, running low. Get in there. And then just give them a good wipe down. Because putting oil on your brand new clutch would probably lead to a bad time. Alright, there's the clutch all in. I'm going to pull this guy out of here. And now we can slide the trans in. Alright guys, there it is. Transmission's all bolted up. I got my hydraulic clutch line hooked up. And bonus points, drive shaft fits. Perfect length. Got about if I bottom it out, I got about 1 inch between the drive shaft and the rear end, so it's about 1 inch of travel in the yoke there, which is right about where you want it. I think next we're gonna do fuel and wiring, and then this thing should move under its own power, and then brakes, and we can take it for a test drive. I think that'll be it for this video, so thanks for watching. Like, subscribe if you want, and see you next time.